Macron continued with a firm defense of Ukraine's right to reclaim its territory. He stressed that supporting Kyiv was not simply an act of solidarity, but a moral and strategic necessity for free nations. The French president declared, "So our duty as free nations, as members of the United Nations, it's clearly to back the Ukrainians in this resistance, to back the Ukrainians in order not just to resist, but to recover their territory and their integrity." This line reflected Macron's evolving stance since the war began. Initially cautious about escalation, the French leader has increasingly aligned himself with those demanding not just containment, but the full restoration of Ukraine's sovereignty. Perhaps one of the most striking moments of the speech came when Macron referenced a private discussion he held with former US President Donald Trump, who is once again a central figure in global diplomacy. Macron recalled, "And this is the core of the discussion we had yesterday with President Trump. And we agreed to say, Russia is not the one you believe in. Russia is not so strong. Look at the situation in more than 1,000 days. They just took 1% of the Ukrainian territory. If we decide that Russia has to come back at the table of negotiation and accept to respect Ukraine as a free country, we can do it." By highlighting this exchange, Macron sought to reframe perceptions of Russia's military power. He pointed out that despite thousands of days of war, Moscow had gained very little territory. His message was clear: Russia's strength is overstated, and with resolve, the international community can force Moscow back to negotiations under conditions that respect Ukraine's sovereignty. The French president did not limit his remarks to Europe. He also turned to the Middle East, where the war in Gaza continues to dominate headlines. Macron warned that failing to apply the same principles of territorial integrity and international law to all conflicts undermines global credibility. He argued, "If we believe that we live in a global order, we should never accept a double standard. And what is the credibility of the Europeans or others to say it's very important to respect the territorial integrity of the Ukrainians? It's very important to respect the principles of the UN Charter, but not to have a single word for Middle East, not to have a single word for what's happening in Gaza. We kill our credibility with such an approach. It's not understood in the rest of the world." This was one of the most pointed parts of his speech, drawing attention to Western inconsistencies. Macron reminded the audience that credibility requires consistency. Ignoring Gaza while championing Ukraine risks alienating much of the world and undermining the very principles being defended